This is Robert Porsche with the YouTube channel Truth, and I simply wanted to illustrate a few dynamics here. Tonight it's going to be about 70 or so degrees cooler in Wisconsin, where we moved from. We live in the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area now. This is Cherry Grove, and that is the Prince Resort. I'll be going over by the ocean in a little bit and taking my water jug with me, of course. The Crystal Bell is one of the examples that I like to illustrate, and I'm going to step on over there and show you a dynamic I think that is pretty fascinating. NASA says that the Earth is spinning, wobbling, and gyrating through space, rotating over 1,038 miles an hour at the equator, and also hurling through space in a spiraling maneuver at over 500,000 miles an hour. Yet we don't see the movement on the Crystal Bell. I just bumped the car is what I did, unfortunately. And so what essentially that means is that there would be people upside down in relationship to other people. And clearly that does not happen. Whether it's a wind chime or a crystal bell, that's just what they do. They hang down. There's up and there's down. There's not upside down in relationship to one another. This is also a bit of a mic test. I'm actually recording with the YouTube feature of record, and then I'll post it later. This is really we're at sea level, basically just a little bit above sea level, about an hour away from low tide, and it's high 60s right now here, so it's very beautiful weather. I'm just going to set that there for a moment. One of the things that's really an important dynamic is that, you know, although they say that the Earth is moving, it's not. We can see that slight movement there right now. It's also a relatively low percentage of humidity, within the 50 percentile, in the 50s of humidity. Earlier today it was as low as 47%, with wind over 20 miles an hour from the southwest and the southeast. But the idea is it's been coming from a southerly region, where the sun is much closer, warming up the ocean and whatever geography is there. I have a friend that asked me what map do I believe is accurate, map of the Earth. Well, I actually have no way of verifying it, so it would be an assumption or speculation on me. What I have determined is that NASA is deceptive. They're lying and giving us fake computer graphic imagery from supposed trips to space on imaginary satellites, with a lot of science fiction and artificial intelligence, and a whole lot of imaginary movement. It's not happening at all. The movement of the Earth has never been proven, so there is a little bit of movement on the car because of the wind. The wind is moving the car, and I bumped it. Now that'll stabilize. The idea of water seeks level is just a reality, and we can see that matches up with the horizon really accurately. In the summer, the sun comes up way over there. I've got video proof of it, and today it came up way over in this area right there. Okay, a big difference in where the sun approaches and also vanishes. We're about an hour and a half from sunset right now here, and it'll set right over there. It's staying low in the sky. It rises there and does this, stays really low, which is actually further away. That's what it does. Now that's one of the dynamics that I've determined and wanted to talk about. One of the other things too is that because we're about an hour away from low tide, we can see a lot of the ground, the ocean floor. Because it's been so dry as well, there's a lot of drying that's happened to the sand. So earlier this week I've done live broadcasts out here where I showed a considerably higher tide. The water has washed the marsh grass up here. The clam beds are drying out. We can see the color contrast. One of the examples of the amount of wind would be the turbine moving, the palm fronds blowing, and all of that. And today there's going to be in the neighborhood of a 5.5 to 6 foot tidal activity. So what that means is when high tide occurs, it'll be all the way back up about where it was earlier today, give or take a little bit. We had rain this morning, quite a bit of rain, and even though that occurred, there was the forecast for afternoon full sun. Imagine that. That's what we've got right now, full sun. What I want to help illustrate is the beautiful symmetry of the reflections, and I'm gonna take you on up there and show you that as well. What the water illustrates is how the simplicity of water basically exposing the global lie, meaning that undisturbed water is flat and level, covers the face of the earth, and certainly won't stick to a tennis ball, won't stick to a imaginary globe hurling through space either. So what happens when I drop this down, we're clearly able to see the symmetry of the reflections. And even though there's quite a bit of wind up high, we can see that. Down low here, there's a bit of a wind break. Because the sun is setting, and this is in a shaded area, the contrast is rather beautiful with how it's hitting the palm fronds. There we go. I just set the tripod support in there, and you can see how it's relatively level, I think. I think that's pretty amazing how that works out. So the Prince Resort has the Cherry Grove Pier right in front of it. I'll take us out there in a little bit. It's just short of 1,000 feet long. And so as what I'll do is I'll just walk into the view a little bit and put myself in the shot right down here. It's truly amazing. Of the fact that they're lying about the globe. It's so huge that it basically involves a whole group of vocabulary, globalism, global warming, the globalists. When you hear people talking about the globalists and all that, and they're not exposing the global lie, well, unfortunately, they're a part of it, whether they realize it or not. That's part of the dynamic with that. The symmetry of the reflections is perfect, so that as I just turn this like that, there you go. Let's just pick it up a little bit. It's a plane mirror is what it is, and the water seeks its level all over the face of the earth. We get rain, and then we have the water that just runs to the ocean. That's just what it does. It seeks its level so that the hydrologic cycle basically powers the world's electrical grid with hydroelectric power. And then we've got elaborate means of heating up water to create steam that moves turbines as well. So we've got the runoff of mountain snows and the thaws that occur from that. And then the water accumulates in reservoirs and flows through dams to provide hydroelectric power. And then we've got natural gas, nuclear power, as well as solar powered steam. Good afternoon. So there's all of that. Right here we can see that water is seeking its level as well underneath my car. It's got a climate control system that allows water to be captured by the exchanger there, the coil that creates a temperature differential. Cool air, I should say there's a cooling system which reduces humidity in the car. Now, even though it's pretty windy, let me just set this down and let you take a look at that. She's not a moving at all. There would be no plumb or level if the earth was moving, because it would be continually changing. You know, some will say, well, the earth, she's around. And then I would say, well, the undisturbed water is flat. The undisturbed water is flat and it's level. That's what it is, the perfect symmetry of the reflections, whether it's the architecture that I show on my photography and videography, or you can find others that do. The reflective properties of water is pretty amazing, a bit mesmerizing, I would say. So photographers are displaying visual evidence of the reality of the world that we live in, whether they're aware of it or not. So what will you do when the truth is right in front of you? Will you be able to recognize that? Will you see that? Does it matter? Does it matter what the shape of the earth is? Well, of course it does, because it indicates that there's a massive deception that's so grand it's not only from cradle to grave, it preceded those before us, many generations of humanity. Because this deception was cooked up or created by the, as best I can tell, the Jesuit Catholic religion. You can look into that if you care to. I've got evidence on my profile to back that assertion up, that claim up. World's Last Chance did an excellent documentary backing that up, I believe proving that. So one of the things that I want to help illustrate in the view right now is that all the little tidal pools basically show the reflection of that building, and where there isn't much wind hitting them, it'll be perfectly flat and level. That's part of the dynamic that's so interesting about the tidal pools.